Hello, I'm the Proper Cuber, and today I have a new camera angle because this is better for looking at finger tricks. Tell me if you like this camera angle and I might use it more. I do need to work on this camera angle a bit though because of how I have my cubing set up for filming, and today I'll be going over finger tricks for the PLLs, and I will have timestamps in the descriptions. The algorithms should be on screen, and I'll be covering them in the order of the groups. Well, not necessarily the groups, but they'll be split up into groups, and I'll be covering them based off of those groups, which are the ones I used in my videos, which were the edge-only PLLs, adjacent corner swap PLLs, and diagonal corner swap PLLs. We will do them in the order I just said them. Today we will be beginning with UA perm, which is, as I show right here, with bar in the back and matching headlights here, well, the opposite color headlights. And the algorithm is M2 flick, which is M prime, M prime, which you do with your ring and the middle finger. Then you do U push with your index finger. Then you do M with your middle finger, U2, M with your middle finger again, M prime, rather, not M, and then you do another U push, and you do M2 again. I'll just go over that once more. M2, U, M, U2, M prime, U, M2. Okay, sorry for this shadow right here. My lighting's a bit off, and I've been trying to work around it, but that shadow's gonna be there. I hope it doesn't really interfere with the video though. So I'll just leave it there for now. And next is UB perm, which once again bar in the back, except this time the opposite headlights colors are on your left. And you do M2 again. Then instead of your U push, you do U. Then you do M, like I showed in the last clip. A U2 double flick, which is your ring, your index and then middle finger. Then M prime with your middle finger again. Your a U again, a U prime again, and then M2. I'll just cover that again. M2, U prime, M, U2, M prime, U, M2. Next we have H perm, which has headlights all along, and we do an M2 flick, or an M2 like I showed in the last two. Then we do U, M2, U2 double flick, M2, U, M2. Once again, we do M2, U, M2, U2, M2, U, M2. Okay, so now we have Z perm, which you hold it according to these two headlights, and these two headlights should be matching colors, and that's on your right and front. And what you do is M prime with your ring finger, not your middle finger. You want your ring finger to do the M prime. Then you do a U prime, M2, U prime, M2, U prime, M prime with your ring finger again, U2 double flick, and then M2. The reason you want to use your ring finger is because it's an easier regrip, or it's easier to move your finger, your ring finger back, so you can do an M2 instead of your middle finger, because then you have to move back your ring and middle finger. Next we have T perm, which has headlights in the left and a bar here, and these are opposite color headlights, so you want to hold it like this, and you want to hold the cube like this so that you have your index finger on this corner. And what you do is R, U with your index finger, R prime, U prime, R prime, F with your index finger, R2, U prime with your index finger on your left hand, R prime, U prime, once again with your index finger, then R, U with your index finger on your right hand, R prime, and then F with your thumb. That part's a bit tricky to get, but once you get it down, it's a really fast algorithm, and I'll just go over it one last time. R, U, R prime, U prime, R prime, F, R2, U prime, R prime, U prime, R, U, R prime, F. Next we have A perm, which is recognized by, this is A perm, which is recognized by headlights that are not the matching color, the opposite colors, and then you have a big block right here. And what you do is rotate down. Don't regrip this hand, but regrip this hand so that it's in home grip. Then you do L2, D2. So the D2 is with, let me just get the right angle, your ring and pinky finger. Then you do L prime, U prime, L, which is pretty basic, your basic finger tricks. Then you do D2 again, then L, U with your index finger here, and L. I'll just go over that again. L2, D2, L prime, U prime, L, D2, L prime, U, L. Next we have a B perm, and I changed my lighting so that this shadow would be gone, and now it's a bit harder to see here, but if I just rotate it a bit, you can see it perfectly fine. And sorry, it's just that I had to move my lamp over in front of me, so there's a bit of wrinkles in here. And what you do is hold it so that your headlights are on the left, and you have your bar here, and that these two colors match. You rotate up, regrip, L2, D2, regrip again, then L, U, L prime, D2, L, U, prime, L prime, L, not L prime, L. And the D2 is just like how I showed you before with your ring and pinky finger. And I'll just go over that again. L2, D2, regrip, L, U, L prime, D2, L, U prime, L, and then if you need to, A, U, F. Next we have F perm, recognized by a bar. Well, hold it with the bar on your left. And sorry for the wrinkles, I put my lamp in front of me, that's why there's a bit of wrinkles. And what you do is hold it like this. You do R, U normally, and then F with your thumb. Well, it's not R, U, it's R, U prime, F prime with your thumb, R, U, R prime, U prime, once again R, and then you do U with your index finger, R, U prime, like usual, with your other index finger, R prime, F, which you do with your index finger, R2, U prime, R prime, U prime, R, U, R, U, R prime. I'll just go over that again. Sorry if I was a bit confusing. Hopefully this will give you a slightly better understanding. R, U prime, F prime with your thumb. R, U with your index finger. R prime, U prime. R prime, F with your index finger. R2, U, R. R2, U prime, R, U, R, U prime, R prime, U prime, R. Next, we'll be covering J, A perm, which is recognized by a bar, well, a block all along here. And how I personally do it is different than what I showed in the video. I do that. However, what I showed in the video, which is the more standard way of doing it with the rotation, I don't use the rotation, but I'll just show it with the rotation, is what I'm going to show today. And what you do is rotate to the bottom, R2, you just don't regrip this hand and regrip this hand, R2, F with your index finger, R, F prime with your other index finger, R, U2, a U2 flick, then wide R prime, U with your index finger, wide R, and a U2. I'll just go over that again. Rotate to the bottom, R2, F with your index finger, R, F, R, U2, wide R prime, U, wide R, U2. And in case you're interested, how I do it is a regrip at the start, L2, F, R, F, R, U2, wide R, and then it's just pretty standard algorithm, but instead of a rotation, you just do an L2. Next we have JB perm, which is recognized by a bar here and a bar here. And hold it like you would for, like I showed you for T perm. Then you do R, U, R, prime. So let me just start over. It's R, U with an index push, R, F with your thumb, R, U with your index finger, R, U prime with your, how you would normally do, R prime, F with your index finger, R2, U, R. Let me just go over that again. R, U with your index finger, R prime, F with your thumb, R, U with your index finger, R prime, U prime, R prime, F with your index finger, R2, U prime, R. Okay, so here we have R perm. This is our A perm, which you hold the headlights on your left and bar in front. And what you do is R, U prime, R prime, U prime, R, U push with your index finger on your left hand, because when you're doing it quick, here, let me just show you what I mean. You'll have your finger right there, so it's much easier to do than, say, with this hand. And, well, it's still easy to do it with your right hand, however, your left hand's right there, so you're already setting it up for more moves. So let me just get to where we were. Then you do R and a D push with your, a D flick with your ring finger, R prime, U prime, R, and then another, a D prime push, R prime, U2, R. Let me just go over that again. R, U prime, R prime, U prime, R, U with your index finger on your left hand, R, D, R prime, U prime, R, D prime with your ring finger on your left hand, R prime, U2, R prime. Next we have R, A prime limp, which you just hold the headlights on the left, and what you want to do is regroup at the start, R2, F, R, U, R, U prime, R prime, F prime with your thumb, then it's R, U2, R prime, U2, R. No, that's the wrong one. Let me just show you it again. R2, regrip at the start, R2, then it's U, no, it's F with your index finger, R, U, R, U prime, R prime, F prime with your thumb, R2, U2 with the U2 flick, and then R prime, U2, and put it back. Next, we have G, A perm. I'm not gonna be saying how to hold it anymore because I showed you that in my last video. My last few videos where I showed the PLLs. And what you do is regrip at the start, R2, and then a U push with your index finger, R, another U push with your index finger, R prime U, then R prime U prime, R, U prime, R2, then you do U prime and D at the same time, like this, then you do R, U, R prime, and then D prime, which is a push. I'll just show you that again. R2, U with your index finger, R, U, R prime U, R prime U prime, R, U prime, R2, U prime and D at the same time, R, U prime, R prime, and then D again. Well, D prime with your ring finger. Next is G, B perm, which you hold the headlights on the left, and what you do is start in home grip, R prime, U prime, R, and then with your ring finger, with your index finger and your ring finger, you push the U and D layers at the same time. So you do a U and D prime, then you do R2, a U push with your index finger, R, another U push, then you do an R, U prime, R, U prime, R2, and then you do a D with your ring finger. I'll just show you that again. R, U prime, R prime, no, R prime, U prime, R, U and D prime, R2, U, R prime, U, R, U prime, R, U prime, R2, and then D. Next is G, C perm, which you hold headlights are on the left, and what you do is regrip your hand like this, then you do R2, U, prime, R, U prime, R, U, R, U, R prime, U, R2, and then regrip. Then you do U and D prime, like so. Then you do R, U prime, R prime, and you do another D with your ring finger. I'll just show you that again. R2, U prime, R, U prime, R, U, R prime, U, R2, U, and D, R, U prime, R prime, and D. Next is GD perm. Your highlights are on the left like usual, and what you do is in home grip, R, U prime, and D at the same time. So what you do is this finger trick with your index and ring finger, you push, then you do R2, U, R, U prime, then you do R, prime, U, R prime, U, R2, and a D prime with your ring finger. I'll just show you that again. Oh wait, I messed that up. Just give me 1 second so I can fix this. Okay. So what you want to do is R, U prime and D, R2, U prime, R, U prime, R prime, U, R2, and D. Next we have Y perm, which you can hold it so that this corner is right here. Then start in home grip, move your thumb up and do an F. Then you do R, U, prime, R prime, U prime, R, U with your index finger, R prime, and then F with your thumb, R, U with your index finger, R prime, U prime, R, U with your, R, F with your, R prime, F with your index finger, R, and then F with your thumb. I'll just show you that again. So F, R, U prime, R prime, U prime, R, U, R prime, F prime, R, U prime, R prime, F prime, R, F prime. Next we have V perm. That's just how, that's a quick example. Now let's get into how to do the finger tricks. So what you have is the block on your left, and what you do, regrip to start, R prime, U, R prime, U prime, then you do R, and with your ring finger on your right hand, you do a D prime, then you do an R prime and a D with your other hand, ring finger, regrip, and then you do R, and you do a U and D prime at the same time, with this hand dragging this and your thumb dragging the D face, and then you do R2, U prime, R2, D, R2. I'll just go over that again. R prime, U, R prime, U prime, R, D prime, R prime, D with regrip, R, U and D prime, R2, U prime, R2, D, R2. Next we have E perm, which you have these two colors should not match this color, and these two should be opposite colors. And what you do is hold that in front, rotate up, and then what you do, hold it in home grip, R, U prime, R prime, and then with your ring finger on your left hand, you do a D and keep it there. Then you do R, and then with your index finger, U, R prime, and then a D prime push with your ring finger, which you should have kept here. Then R, U prime again with your index finger, or not U prime, U with your index finger, R prime, D, keep your finger here still, R, U prime, R prime, D prime with your ring finger. I'll just show you that again. This time it should be a bit more clear if you didn't understand. So what you want to do, R, U prime, R prime, D, keep your finger here, R, U with your index finger, R prime, D prime, R, U prime, again with your index finger, R prime, D, R, U, R prime, and D prime again. Next we have N, A perm, which you hold it in home grip, then you do, and you hold bar, any bar, it doesn't matter. It's omnidirectional. And what you do is R, U, R prime, U prime, then you J prime, which is R, U with your index finger, R, F prime with your thumb, R, U with your index finger, R, U prime, R prime, F with your index finger, R2, U, R, R, U prime, R prime, U2, R, U, R. Let me just go over that again. This is a longer algorithm, so it may have been a bit confusing. R, U with your index finger, R prime, U with your index finger, or either a push, that one doesn't really matter. And then you do R, U, and then J perm, R, U, R. So R, U with your index finger, R, F prime with your thumb, R, U, U with your index finger, R, U prime, R, F with your index finger, R2, U prime, R prime, U2, R, U, R prime. Next is NB perm, which is omnidirectional, and what you want to do is regrip it, and then you do R prime, U, R, U prime, R prime, F with your thumb, then you do U prime, F with your thumb again, then you do R, U with your index finger, R, and then F with your other thumb, then you do R, and then F prime with this thumb, then you do R, U prime with this finger, and R. I'll just go over that again. R, U prime, R prime, U prime, R prime, F, U prime, F, R, U, R, F, R, U, R prime, F, R prime, F prime, U, R prime, U prime, R prime, R. Sorry, it's a long algorithm, a bit confusing to say. I'll do that just one last time. R prime, U, R, U prime, R prime, F with your thumb, U prime, F prime, R, U, R, and then R, U, R prime, and then F, R, R prime, F with either your thumb or index finger, then R, U prime, R prime. That's all for today's video. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day. Remember to wear a bike helmet when you go biking so you don't break your head like I broke my arm. And bye for now.